Katowice Royale. And yeah, duos action is very much underway now, and we have early dominance coming in from North America. 2 games done, and we are getting set up for our 3rd round of the day. Gentlemen, welcome to the desk, and a special welcome because of fresh blood on the desk. Speedy Gonzalez, it's a smile I love to see. How you doing, buddy?
So much onset. I know as a caster, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but Zayt and Saf, strong trail in game 1, winning it. Vinny and Zexro, game 2, winning it. I gotta say it. Twitch chat's gonna be mad, but I gotta say it. NA up.
Oh, here we go. All right, we're going to have to balance this out. The only problem is, Speedy, you've chosen to do it alongside 2 Brits here. So, you know,
I'm not even going to do it.
We're going to bring balance to the force.
I'm just going to be like history and those guys. That I'm just on with that.
Okay,
None
so
of
you're
this
rest of the world. All right,
stuff.
yeah.
It's fine. It's an international tournament. There's lots of places to root for.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's talk about our game number 3. After, obviously, what we've just seen in our 2nd game. It has been early North America dominance. We have to give Speedy some credit. Come on, he's not lying. He's being truthful. Exactly. Saf and Zayt and Vinny and Zexro coming out of the games out the gates hot. But if you do look down the leaderboards a little bit more and you look at that top 5, there are some other nationalities that we're seeing in there that are putting in some good performances. And we've seen how many points have been racked up in these duos already. I mean, even just in that last game, the amount of eliminations, 9 eliminations, which I'm pretty sure is a record so far for one game. From the entire time that we've been here in Katowice, there's so many points available that anyone at the moment, even after 2 games, can make a bit of a dash.
Vinny and Zexro with 9 eliminations at the end of that game. That's not an easy task. Not at all. You have 100 of the best players in the world, and you're wiping out 10% of that lobby. That's quite a feat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that moment where you say, yeah, it's the best performance we've seen so far here. I think Saf and Zayt is another one to kind of say that, hey, they've been landing in the same place as Mitro and Kuna, and suddenly all of them are still up in the standings very well. So there's a lot of these fights that I'm looking forward in game 3 to seeing whether it breaks or if it's the same people in the end game again.
That's very, very true. Well, obviously, we've got so many different nationalities. We've got so many different players here in Katowice. We want to find out more about them all the time, so we filmed this with them a little bit earlier today.
Watch my gameplay.
I think the best advice I can give to someone who's just starting is play like practice servers or scrim servers if you want to actually get better. That's the best way to improve. Play against players that are better than you, and that's what gets you better.
You need to train mechanics, like that's the basic. Then you need to train your game sense, and the best way to do that is to understand why you died. Like I think understanding why you died and what did you make wrong is the best way to improve.
Just get good bindings for yourself, so you are used to them. You always know where to click on the keyboard. You don't have to think about this because that's a thing that takes the most time for newer players.
Incorporating your initial settings and making sure you're comfortable with them, your sensitivity, your binding, just make sure that you're comfortable with those, because theoretically you could be stuck with them for a while, and then changing off of that stuff is not easy.
I think the first thing off the bat is just, be aggressive. Try to learn from your mistakes. That's very important to me. When I'm learning a new game, or just when I first started Fortnite, I was going into the hot spots, hot dropping, trying to just get my mechanical skill up first, and I think that's super important. And then from there, they could find a spot that they really like, that's really good, and just try to learn that path to the best of their ability.
Don't underestimate how much time it takes. Put in the time. It's the only way to get there. There is no other way. You just need to play a lot.
For new players right now that are trying to be pros, it's very hard because everybody has been playing for a long time and they're really, really trying hard, especially with this new announcement of how much money is coming in. So, I mean, the way I learned was to just watch other professionals and kind of take their strategies and take notes from what they do.
And to put in a lot of time. If you're going to try to be professional, it's not easy. You have to practice a lot and work on a lot of things. It doesn't just come natural to most people. They don't realize the time you put in.
Work ethic, practice time, everything that we'd expect these guys to be saying, but some really good tips there for some aspiring players who are looking to get into the competitive scene. I mean, Speedy, what would your advice be to the blossoming community of Fortnite players who are looking to get involved?
Work ethic is #1. A lot of people are not going to see you grind, behind the scenes, but you just got to keep at it, and eventually it will pay off.
I thought he was going to go with 3 words, which was practice your 90s. I thought that's where you were going.
That was your opportunity, Speedy.
I'm done talking about 90s. No one wants to hear about 90s. Let's just move on.
Okay, gentlemen, fantastic stuff. Always great to hear from the guys, the best players in the world, telling how you guys to get a little bit better. But, I mean, let's talk about this game that we have coming up now. Who are you looking at to make a little bit of a run here? Because we have seen that early North American dominance. Do you think that's going to continue, Speedy?
I am definitely an NA guy. You know, I definitely want to see my NA boys do well. Someone I'm keeping an eye on is Item and Tomo. They're not NA. I believe they're UK. Yep. Item is 16 years old, got an invite out of nowhere, told his dad about it. He's like, Dad, I got invited to Poland. And his dad's like, is this legit? Like, free flight, free hotel to compete for like $400,000 worth of dollars? Like, is this a real thing?
Dude, come on. What was that, 3 death segments now, and that's been brought up twice?
Item's dad.
By the way, thank you, Stress. Thank you, Stress. By the way,
I'm not burying you. Don't worry. Well, I've got to spend a long time here with you at the desk, so you've got to stay as my friend.
Smart man.
Item's dad's in the crowd. We were chatting to him yesterday after the game's finished of the solos, and he was saying, you know, Item, he was so disappointed to get 11th, and we were like, 11th in the world? Like,
yes,
that's a great place.
When I used to play, you used to pay to go, you used to pay for your hotel. If you won the tournament, you're still out of pocket. And I mean, that's how it was, but obviously things have changed. That was a long, long time ago now. But we also want to hear from you guys at home as well. Just a reminder to everyone, use the hashtag ESL Katowice Royale to get your questions in to everyone here on the desk. Send us some photos of where you're watching it from as well. We want to hear from you guys. And I believe, gentlemen, we have some questions for you. And this is my favorite part, because this is where I get my own back on you. Will the volcano potentially have an effect on last circle or mid-game? And that's coming in from Juicy Dr. Skittles.
100%. In that last game, it was a volcano ending. We saw volcanic vents be camped at, and we saw a lot of players still alive towards those later moving circles. That's because there's a lot more mobility on that side of the map that you can utilize to get from zone to zone, circle to circle. And that kind of creates more players in the end game. So a lot more variables at play in those volcanic endings.
It has been fantastic to see that volcano have such a strong effect on endgame as well. I believe we have another question coming in from you guys as well, and that is, what do the players think of Season 8 and the removal of plays? I think we've already answered that one, haven't we? We heard from the guys earlier.
Yeah, some of the players backstage have been saying that they like it. Some have been saying, oh, it makes it different, because like Margin had to change his entire strategy. I think it is based on their play style. If you were the person that just jumped in the storming every time and just circled for 10 minutes, you probably don't like the fact that your strat just got vaulted.
I mean, I don't want to be harsh, but if you're relying on a Stormwing to get top 10,
oh yeah,
I don't know if you should be in this lobby. Like,
ooh, I love this Speedy. This is my favorite Speedy.
Shots.
I love. This is a big smile on him as well. Look at him. He knows what he's done. Speedy, I love.
Speaking truth.
I love you, dude. I'll never forget what you said to Baller last night. But anyway, we've got one more question for you, from you guys at home, I should say. What is more important when aiming, speed or accuracy? From International Titan or Internal Titan. I can't read apparently, so there you go, Internal Titan.
If you can't hit your shots, you're not gonna win a game, right? But if you like mess up an edit, that's gonna cost you a game as well. Both are equally important, but I would say you definitely want your aim on point before you start to focus on like some of those other mechanics.
Okay, well, fantastic stuff. Again, all you guys at home, remember, use the hashtag ESL Katowice Royale if you want to get your questions in to the guys on the desk. We'll keep them coming throughout the day. But let's talk about who has been impressive so far, because there has been consistency in those top placings, even after 2 games so far. Something we didn't see yesterday in the solo action, which kind of saw a lot of different players taking home that first place. What's been the difference here? Is it just the additional teamwork aspect that some of these duos just have down to such a high level?
So duos is a different environment, right? Solos is all on you. There's no making excuses, right? If you go down early, it's your fault. For duos, you have that little bit of cushion, right? So we saw Aiden go down. Nick Merckx revived him, but unfortunately they didn't make it to the end game. But you do have that bit of cushion where a teammate can get you up, a teammate can clutch up, and that kind of puts you in a really good position.
Well, let's see if we can see some of that in this game. Game number 3 is live. Let's get into this one, gentlemen. It's over to you.
Here we go, round 3 of the ESL Katowice Royale. And we are dropping in already with Milan and Smeef. A lot of people heading south from where the bus was dropping them off. So that's Windwalker. Milan just drops right on top of the hill and says, okay, chest, that'll do.
Gets a gold P90 and a golden shield. Not much in terms of range, so you can't really do much. You know, you just kind of have to...
That compact SMG, you're like, I'll spray as much as possible, maybe get through some buildings, but as soon as somebody's a few meters away...
baby.
So, double gray AR right now for Vinny. These are our points leaders landing out on the very west side.
So, interesting thing about Vinny and Zexro, they usually land, you know, Viking. They try to control Viking and then Rift out. But I believe in Season 8, the Rifts have been taken out of the mountain. And now they kind of have to switch up their strategy and move around a little bit.
Ooh, power.
137 meter knock.
And Jal picks up the scraps there as they are over on that pirate ship. Easy pickup. I saw a Chug Jug as well in Jarl's inventory, so we'll be able to get his shields up whenever he wants to.
Definitely a very nice pickup early game. You definitely want one easy elimination. That means there's a solo around the area that you can pick off if you can find them.
And if they can find them, that should, as you say, be an easy second elimination for the game. Milan is going to push on towards via Linen. And it does get that double stairs, but there's that crossfire.
Yeah, you've got to cover your left flank, otherwise you're exposed to that third party.
And it just turns the engage around, right? Milan now has to stop. He has to use that mini potion and try and get any kind of advantage. Bottle rockets, sensory, almost deprivation going to come through with these bottle rockets because it's really difficult to hear when they're raining in.
Not to mention the clingers coming in. There's a lot of audio pollution going on around the area.
Look, we're just putting on a fireworks display over in Salty, okay? Like, that's what all people want. It's not November, but, you know, I guess July 4th is closer than Fireworks Day in the UK.
Yeah, NA, July 4th. We love our fireworks.
And it seems like Milan does as well in that area. So one of the areas that is new for Season 8, Sunny Steps, has some decent loot here.
Yeah, I haven't had too much of an opportunity to, you know, play the game and, like, find the different loot spots around here. But just from a brief, you know, first-hand impression, there's a lot of chests here. I believe there's 20 chests in the area. So plenty of loot for these duos. 2 people contesting it at the same time to get nice and comfortable. Nice little loadout for early game.
And so much brick as well. So much. You can just farm as much as you need. And you can see Seth just trying to rain a hail of grenades over the top. And that just means their opponents are going to back away down the cliff. Just say, nope, don't want this fight. And that's one thing that just duos is going to be like this, is the disengage is king in the early game.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of duos talk about this. In solos, you don't really have that person in your ear saying, hey, take a step back, let's get out of here. In duos, you do have that guy in your ear telling you, you know, this isn't a smart play, let's get out of here. Let's disengage. Let's be the smart player in the situation.
In solos, the one on your shoulder is the W key. It's just like,
the W key and the...
Press me.
Just talking over that S key.
Nobody uses the S key in solos at this point. So Loot Lake was one of the areas we were looking at. That was where Metro typically drops, and also Saf. So their duos have kind of been hands-off each other for these 3 games so far.
I mean, it's a smart play by both duos. You definitely want to respect everyone in this lobby. You don't want to take a fight because there's a lot of talent here.
Yeah, there is.
You're not going to win 7 out of 7 fights if you know, fight every single game.
Yeah, now we're seeing the Korean duo Aim Hero and Fax Fox. They've talked
Aiden pushing in.
Landing, tiltedness, yeah. Aiden pushing in. We'll see where Nick Merckx is as well, but Aim Hero and Fax Fox under a lot of pressure at the top of this building. Trying to find any angle they can. Ooh, Excalibur has gone down to, I think that was Aiden that actually gets that down. And Keolis trying to get his way out. Excalibur is down. The Clingers, cling, 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 go the Clingers. And Fax Fox is going to be able to finish off that duo.
Fax Fox ended up getting 2 eliminations there, but Ghost Aiden and Nick Merckx hovering around the low ground, very healthy. Aim Hero, 50 HP, no shields. Very tough situation. He does manage to get down a campfire, but you know, there are sharks in the water.
Yeah, there definitely are. They're circling. Fax Fox actually only got the 1 elimination from that. I agree. It did look like 2 came up, so I wonder whether it was Aiden and Nick Merckx that actually got the 2nd from that. We will eventually end up seeing Nick Merckx and Aiden's perspective throughout this game, I'm sure, unless they were to fall to Aim Hero and FaxFox in this exchange. More clingers come out. You can hear them sticking to the side of these buildings as Aim Hero bails out of the top.
So this is what I was talking about before, right? You have that duo in your ear telling you, hey, let's back off, let's reposition. I'm sure Nick Merckx was in Aiden's ear saying, hey, don't push the high ground. Aiden, a very aggressive player, always loves to push the high ground, but ended up backing off here to the low ground.
And that's one thing that perhaps less so than other formats, pure aggression is not rewarded as higher in a placement-based format like this, where it's about getting the mix of eliminations and placement. You can't just run into every engage, get 4 eliminations, and then lose, because if you're out of the placements, you only get 20 points that game.
Absolutely. Every engagement is not going to be ideal. Nick Merckx recognized that, and that's why he wanted to go for a better positioning here, but they end up running into Imagine.
Heisa coming in from the side here. A new challenger approaches as Aiden and Nick Merckx down in the bottom of that building. You can see FaxFox and Aim Hero have rotated out towards the top of this, and we're getting the X-ray view of this fight as Margin does get that stink grenade out, trying to just push the duo out of this building, try and get a better position. Of course, Aiden and Nick Merckx are so used to fighting in all of these buildings that you have to wonder whether that gives them that edge.
Yeah, Magin and Kaser in shambles, no shields really. They have to kind of, step on the brakes. They can't really take this. And Nick Merckx and Aiden do end up with shield.
And I think that there we talk about that experience of knowing the where and when to pick fights, backing away from that exchange. It was Aiden that picked up that other elimination that we were talking about. We jump all the way to a different location as Ares and Bowman are in this situation, as is Forward Norwood. That's Ares' duo, and I will say that name every single time he's on screen, as Ares loses half of his health, all of his health almost, as Norwood from the top is going to try and help him out.
Norwood's controlling the high ground, but dropping down to reunite with his duo.
Yeah, Alpha has tried to heal up a little bit himself, and Ares is in such a rough spot. Really rough, as Ares has just been down, so as this one continues, there's a rift to go here for Norwood. We'll see whether he ends up using it to get into the zone once he has brought back Ares.
Norwood does have the HP to get his duo up, but the moment they rift, these players are waiting for them, ready with their AR to knock them down. They're not going to have any shield. They're not going to have any health to pop. It's going to be a really tough situation to get out of.
Yeah, over the top go the explosives from Madsen, trying to find Sinnoh and Envy, our South Korean duo, and a lot of the building gets taken down on the build-up to this fight, and that means Sinnoh is trying to find his way out of this situation. From both sides come the SMGs, and they haven't quite found it yet, as he's very, very low is Sinnoh, now stuck in the same box as Klingers come through from the top. Envy now is the new target from Madsen as he edits through, gets the shotgun, and is going to pick up this elimination.
Just the unrelenting aggression here really secured the kill.
Yeah, Sinnoh went down as well, so that is the duo being picked off. I mean, the early onset of this game as well, still very early on.
Ghost Bizzle and Ghost Demo here still alive. One of our most consistent duos.
They just used the cannon. Bizzle and Demo both use the cannon to rotate out. That's one of the first uses we're actually getting to see on stream of it, utilizing it for those rotations.
Yeah, I think the cannon was a great addition to the game overall. It allows for mobility on all facets of the map.
Run out the guns. BloodX is firing up towards, looked like Polar at that point.
You are in a vulnerable state though while you're cannonballing. Like anyone could just pull out the AR and start taking fire shots at you.
Yeah, it's one of those dangerous moments. Everybody's just firing from this cannon. Who needs rifts? Use cannons instead. A big broadside of players.
It looks like everyone's trying to get up here to Viking Village, just trying to get as central to the zone as possible. This is something typical you see in a pro game. You try to get center zone. That increases your chances of getting the next zone, or at least you don't have to travel that far to get to the next zone.
Yeah, of course it was, as you said, Viking that they were going towards. As we are on with Saf and Zayt. A lot of meds in the inventory for Zayt and Saf, and they've been performing well in every single game so far.
Yeah,
like
our game one winners. Definitely a strong showing. Launchpad if they need to get to the next zone. plenty of shield. They're in a really good position here. Lots of builds. Really good position for endgame.
Yeah, good mix in the inventory as well. Basically everything that you need. We heard Bizzle talking earlier where it was like AR, SMG, shotgun, shields, and something to rotate as well.
But they do have some neighbors here, Mitro and Kuna, just kind of saying hello with some stinks.
And this is the fight that we've been trying to track and see whether it actually goes down in all 3 games so far. And we've not actually seen Mitro and Kuna too much, other than in the very last part of that first game. Mitro was the last remaining European player alive. He did end up falling before the very end, but Saf and Zate, we'll see whether they end up picking that off. X2 Twins on your screen is a little quiet for the first few games. Got picked off a few times in some tough fights, but we'll see what has led up to this point in the game. This is the fight between Envy and Sinnoh, getting a different perspective on it as Envy actually took down Tixi, so this was a fight we didn't catch earlier. Envy just doing a good job of
this is what I was talking about. You do have that duo to clutch up if you end up going down. There is that little bit of cushion.
I mean, just during the action in the action feed, Zate has already taken down Poach. As this storm starts to close in, and everybody that made their way to Viking suddenly is in a great position.
That's exactly what I was talking about before. You're trying to get center zone every single time to optimize your chances of getting the next circle.
If they can pick off the people coming into the zone, this is a dangerous place to be. Storm Surge is starting to strike from some of these more passive teams. It's going to force them into engagements.
Spenno's here getting ticked by Storm Surge, taking a lot of damage. Every single, lightning bolt just kind of inching him closer and closer to the lobby.
25 damage on every strike. Jesse is still up, but Jordan has been downed in this exchange.
I think Jesse just clutched up.
Looks like it.
He's full HP with 2 eliminations here. He must have finished off a duo.
Yeah, it looks like that is the case in that situation. The fact that he had the time to bring back his twin, bring back his brother in more than just a game.
Yeah. So we were talking about them earlier. This is kind of a marathon tournament 2 days ago. I think the X2 Twins are just kind of getting the groove of things, trying to, get into the flow, and we're definitely starting to see them more and more in the late game perform better and better.
And there's a lot of hype and expectation on their shoulders, but this really, when you look at an offline setting, is pretty much their first test on that international stage, where you get to see how do we match up against North America, how do we match up against Europe, Brazil, South Korea, China, Japan, everywhere. So we get to see, is the hype going to be validated? And I think we've seen flashes of it for sure. I want to see over the 14 games their final placement, and we get an answer to that.
Absolutely. Speaking of regions, History and Fa from the Brazilian region, the History did really good yesterday.
Yeah, 8th place overall. Like, that is such a good performance, and I think a lot of people were underestimating them. Didn't really anticipate a result like that coming
People didn't really know what to expect from South America, but they showed up strong top 10.
And there's something to say for the esports communities in South America that are just such dedicated and vocal fans. Like, it's lovely to see. 7SSK7 just took out the Solary duo, the Airwax and his duo partner. We didn't catch it on screen, but got it on the action feed. And I mean, it's just big game from the Russian duo. We're talking about that international flair, and it really is coming to fruition.
Fa and History kind of in a tough situation. No shields on Fa, and if they really need a circle that does not go up the mountain if they want to keep up in the game.
Yeah, the mountain goats, I know Bola likes to call it, and the moment where you just park yourself on the side of a mountain and say, okay, well, this is where I'm waiting, and now we have to mountain run.
Yeah, nothing claims more lives than a zone that goes over a mountain. The majority of the lobby usually ends up going down to that.
Yeah, you just end up either running into somebody's wall, not finding the way through, or just kind of being at the back of the pack, and you're a bit stuck going up the hill. Very difficult thing to do, and we'll see whether that ends up happening. Zextro and Vinny still in this game. They're dropping down the mountain.
They're actually in a really great position here. The zone ended up going off the mountain, so most of these players on the south side of the region just kind of have an easy rotation into the zone. Most of the players on top of the mountain just have to drop on down. nice, easy rotation all around.
And they were hovering right around item was there, so a potentially rough fight for Vinny and Zexro if they end up taking it. As
Vinny was a Rift and a launch pad in a great position for endgame. Lots of mobility, lots of mass, lots of health. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a really high placing this game as well.
Yeah, it's this situation where they also have some explosives in Zexro's inventory to deal with things. So they're in that situation where, like, you have the tools, but now it's all about putting the furniture together and getting the throne at the end of the game. So it's that moment where, like, really we have to track them constantly because they are so consistent. Keenstar looking for damage as Boyer gets down. Dynamite gets thrown out as Cripper is going to launch pad his way up. Just trying to finish off that elimination is Keenstar. Boyer tries to go out into the storm just to say, no, I'm going to not give you the elimination credit.
Yeah, but Boyer's teammate did a smart play there, which is to disengage. He knew his teammate was down and storm. You know, he has to live to fight another day.
Yeah, and your placement is based on the last remaining member of your duo. It is not on any kind of combination. It's how long do you last? That's it.
Demo and Bizzle game 1. Demo was still alive, managed to get, I believe, top 3 for placement. That's absolutely huge for these duos.
Yeah, it's massive. Placement has such a big impact, but we can't underestimate the kills because those elimination points actually do break a lot of the standings when you start seeing teams shift up and down. And at this point, Beehive and Coffee trying to make their way towards that safe zone. Wexy is trying to lay down some fire while under fire himself.
Ghost is a controller player, ends up taking a couple of eliminations.
Yeah, we've seen his name come up quite a lot in the action feed, getting eliminations, getting those points, and again, those eliminations stick. It's not a format where you have to reach a threshold for eliminations. For those of you watching, perhaps that didn't catch yesterday's games, it's just 5 points flat. Every elimination you get, 5 points added to your total, put it in the bank, and start looking for more.
And I'm pretty sure the controller gang's pretty happy with their performance as well.
Yeah, they seem to be doing well, and Margin is going to basically slide down the side of the mountain.
So at this point of the game, Margin is a solo. It's going to be kind of tough, but you know his focus is not going to be on getting a lot of eliminations. He's just going to try to play as safe as possible, go for those placement points.
And this is very similar to the last game. 7 SSK7 and Jamside still, you know, in the mix up at the top, but Bizzle and Demo trying to RPG that roof structure down. Couldn't quite do it, but it did force Jamside and 7 SSK7. Wow, that's...
This is a really interesting thing to note. Bizzle and Demo have an RPG going into endgame. They're going to be able to retake height at any point if they, you know, coordinate it nicely.
And they also have some clingers. 7 clingers in the RPG should allow them to knock down everybody's height.
Those explosives are huge. You can knock down height.
And that's what Demo's trying to peak for. No eliminations for them yet, but they've been picking up a lot in the end game. That's where they've been doing most of their damage. And 7 SSK7 and Jamside ends up dropping. And the fall damage comes through again. I think that was in game 1. He ended up falling and dying to fall damage then.
And that's what I'm talking about. You know, if you have someone on the low ground with an RPG, you're very vulnerable on the high ground to get knocked down like that.
This time it was a little bit more intentional from Bizzle and Demo than it was earlier on in the day for Jamside. So Bizzle and Demo, they didn't get elimination credit for it, but that means Jamside, one of the contenders, is out. They still looking for that high ground. Violinen will get dropped as Windwalker falls to Zeke. Bizzle and Demo, kings of the mountain right now, all the way up at the top.
Item still alive here on the bottom left. Myth knocked TSM Cloud trying to get up his teammate.
This is one of the first games we're seeing FaxFox and Aim Hero actually get later on. The first 2 games, they actually got eliminated pretty early on, so I'm excited to see what their strategy is in the late game, because really haven't seen it. Going to be a good learning experience. The South Korean players have not been in the high placements so far. Aim Hero does just get Cripper for himself. Still looking at Bizzle and Demo. Launch pad up and onto somebody else's building for now. But look, they've lost the total high ground of being the absolute highest people.
And again, they do have the RPG, but Bizzle ends up getting knocked.
Brings down from the side as Demo does pick up Smeef, so that evens up the fight for now. Demo trying to get his way through the wall and just say, I'll res my partner, because Smeef is already getting picked up.
Both duos trying to get their partner up, but the zone is coming on in, and they don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, Demo is low health as well. Oh, Demo's having to leave him. Bizzle's, that's it. Bizzle's done. Demo was not healthy enough to stay in that situation, and now he starts to run. You can see Cloud through the middle and a vertical rocket right up to try and upset Madsen and Seth from the top. Kinsel's trying to make his way up there. I think he just connected some damage onto Seth as well, but Seth has, you know, between them 3 eliminations to their name.
Every team here just trying to control the high ground as best as they can. That is going to be the key here on the mountain zone when it goes over.
Here we go again, though. Saf and Zayt already 4 eliminations. They are under a lot of pressure. The Kling has come out and it's forcing Zayt to move forward. He didn't want to go into that little...
Zexro and Vinny actually ended up taking the high ground.
Yeah, they've reclaimed it again. We talked about their mobility, and now we'll see their healing come through. They've got that campfire, they have the materials, they have the high ground. Can they convert it into a second victory royale? Aim heroes down. They're looking for more from this top side. Zexro has 1 elimination, and everything is stacked up beneath them. But look at the distance between where they're placed on the high ground. Razaro is down. Another rocket rains up into the sky as Shinken and everybody starts to move off this hill. And how far will this storm go? They're reaching the edge of the hill.
We have Zayt going down there. Animal still alive.
Keenstar's still up. Animal does just drop as we talk about it. A little bit of cast a curse, perhaps, as Keenstar and the rest. Madsen does get dropped. I thought dropped, but no, he just lost a lot of health. It looked like he was getting hit by something and took him all the way down, but he got Beehive. Seth is down. Madsen is able to survive for now.
Zexro and Vinny still controlling the high ground, just spraying at anybody who shows their head. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
10 players remain in the barrel, though, and we'll see whether Zexro and Vinny, they were on their own. Zexro picks up the elimination from the top. As Zexro, 3 elims to his name for now. We'll see whether they can drop in and tidy up some more. Only 6 people remain. Vinny does get dropped down to 35 health as Zexro is going to try and build his way down. Has 90 health. Vinny is out of this exchange. So 5 players remain and 4 duos are still in with a running. And it's Cloud that is in here. This would be a big pickup if Cloud could convert this game.
They have 6 eliminations. If they can go for placement at least.
The trap does get set. Stompy picks up that elimination for himself. 1 versus 1. Cloud versus Stompy. Is this the moment that Cloud puts up the results here? Because 4 eliminations on the game. He's on the low ground, but has a decent setup by the looks of it. He just has to make sure he gets this. He's in the storm, and now off the cliff we go. Does Stompy find the angle here from the low ground? He's just waiting for Stompy to peek, trying to break him down, but you can't get through this amount of building for now. Oh no, Cloud! Oh, it takes so much damage! Oh, and he's in the zone! This is catastrophic for Cloud! That's heartbreaking, but Stompy picks it up. Heartbreaking to fall off the back of the mountain. It wasn't fall damage that did it, but the storm was enough, and Stompy, purely through building, survives for the Victory Royale.
Regardless of how that game ended, TSM Cloud and its strong placement points, strong elimination points for that game.
Yeah, very, very strong. Like it's actually been a good performance because I don't want to put this in a negative light, but the way that people have discussed the TSM duo has been that, do we expect them to do well? Well, they're doing well. So that's all you can say.
You know, we had 3 in top 5 at one point, 3 TSM members.
Yeah. Yeah, they're performing pretty well, but it's all about Stompy picking up the Victory Royale through building.
Stompy and Shinken, what a performance that is. The 2 Latvian players as well, so big stuff from them, representing their nation very, very well towards the end. And I've got to give a big shout out, though, to Cloud towards the end of that game, because I think that Myth went down fairly early towards that end zone. I saw that he was tunneling away, using the low ground to stay alive and get those placement points. But it was such a devastating way to see the game end as well, because we wanted to see that 1v1 encounter. We wanted to see it happen. He had no mats, so he couldn't get up to that high ground. But just to see his hopes, his dreams just slide down the side of that mountain and just have to look back up.
Quite literally.
It's like, there's nothing I can do, Storm. Just take me now.
Yeah, Stompy, a player that we haven't seen too much from, was quiet in the solos yesterday. And Stompy and Shinken, it's a big pickup for them. Regardless of how it happens, you can't discount that we've always been talking about composure, consistency. He had the materials, he built himself into a safe area and played the high ground. And sometimes your opponent does just die to the storm in a 1v1, and that's how it goes.
And as well, I mean, we were looking at the inventory that Cloud had at the end. If he gets dropped on there, if he lands one of those legendary heavy shotgun shots, then that battle can turn around pretty quickly. So patience really was patience was a virtue for those guys at the end there. But I think it's time to hear from our winners from the last game. I believe Adam's down on the floor with them now.
Yes, thanks very much, buddy. Here with Shinkin and Stompy here, winners of game number 3. Guys, what a finish that was. Got lucky there with Cloud falling down the mountain, but you had the high ground. Walk us through what it was like playing in that game.
It was pretty good. I had enough meds, so I could just start playing, and yeah, it was nice.
And you're our first European winners today as well in this ESL Katowice Royale. What's it like playing with all the best in the world?
It's just amazing. Like, these games are awesome. Like, great end games, and then like we had the zone there, and just amazing.
Because you came over here as well as we're getting ready for this interview, and you can see you're both kind of just relieved. There must be so much pressure at all times. I mean, is it kind of a sense of elation you've won, or is it kind of constantly just kind of grinding out like everything that's happening right in front of you?
Yeah, it obviously feels good when you win, because in the first game my game crashed, so yeah, pretty happy about the win, and yeah, we're gonna keep going.
And I'm going to ask as well, both Austrian as well, anything you'd like to say to your Austrian fans at home watching right now?
Ja, Jungs, danke für den ganzen Support. Und ihr wisst, ihr schaut wahrscheinlich gerade bei Miki zu, und Grüße gehen raus.
Love it. Thank you very much. Shinkin and Stompy there, guys. Game number 3 winners. Best of luck with the rest of the competition. You guys did brilliantly there. What a game number 3, guys. That was awesome. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. My apologies there. Austrian guys,
Yep.
There's so many nationalities here that it is easy to quickly look over the wrong column, isn't it? You know, it happens. Anyway, but a huge performance from them. And as Adam was saying as well on the floor, first big win there for the European teams that we've got here. And that's going to probably breed confidence to the rest of the pack as well, because we have seen that North American dominance early in those first couple of games. Now it just gives that belief that if those guys can do it, why can't we?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I think maybe Zakibus would be the right person to talk to about this. Later on the day, he'll be on the broadcast. But I don't know how much the players really buy into the regional thing. I think some of them maybe will. I think it's such a focus for such a long time that I think they're being like, okay, well, we've seen somebody build to win, and we've seen somebody that hasn't won in the previous games actually make it through. So I think that probably is the boost to them, that it's not just the same people winning every single game.
Absolutely. I think the strategy is the same all around, which is, try to maintain the high ground, try to take it over. We saw Polish players try to do the same strategy over and over last week and yesterday. So you always want to be in a great position, and not to, actually, Stompy did a phenomenal job there. He had the mats, he conserved mats up until that point, and that's how he was able to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, he had the advantage for the majority of that final battle there, that 1v1 situation. He would have had to lose that battle, you felt. He would have had to make a misplay. Unfortunately, his job was made a little bit easier by the unfortunate geographic landscape, shall we say, that was apparent. But, when you're in a 1v1 battle and you've got someone above you, you have to put your focus on what's in front of you and above you rather than what's sneaking up behind you.
It's heartbreakingly ironic, almost, for that to happen to Cloud. But, yeah, he was in a position where if Stompy had to come down, it's nearly a 50-50 if Stompy has to come down, because you're looking at that shotgun fight. So I think Stompy had a good position. It wasn't unwinnable for Cloud, but certainly made a whole lot trickier.
Okay, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Game number 3 is done and dusted now. We have our first European winners taking that victory royale. We're going to go for a break now. When we get back, we've got game number 4.